Today I'd like to talk about superannuation and the different types of super funds that you can have. So there are three broad types. The first one is what we'd call an industry superannuation fund, and also in there we'd lump in government types of super funds. Now this type of super fund can be really good for people who have quite low complexity, smaller balances, and are looking for a low cost option. So it's generally people who are, in many cases, a bit younger. Another type of superannuation fund is a retail super fund. Now that's where a bank or an insurance company will act as the trustee of your super fund on your behalf. Now these are really good for people who might have a little bit more complexity and also want to actually see inside their super funds and enjoy the transparency of that. And also in some cases a bit more control. The downside to them is that they are often a little bit more expensive. The third type of super fund is the self-managed super fund, and they are a bit more complex again, and that's often where either an individual or a company will operate as the trustee of the superannuation assets. This type of super fund can be very good for people who are wanting maximum control over their super investments and also maximum transparency, so they can actually see what's going on. The downside to a self-managed super fund is that they have to have a tax return and an audit done on them every year. And unless your super fund is of a decent size, these annual costs can unfortunately decrease the overall return on your super assets. So the things you should be looking for with your superannuation are that it's low cost relative to the amount of investment that you actually have inside your super fund. The other thing to have a look for is that it's transparent, and that means that you have some kind of idea over what you're actually invested in. The type of superannuation that will work for you best really depends on what stage you're at. So for someone who is younger and looking to accumulate their super but without needing a whole lot of input to it, an industry super fund in a high growth asset option will be a really good outcome for that particular person. Someone who is nearing their retirement stage though probably needs a lot more control over the underlying assets, and for them we would consider perhaps a retail option or indeed a self-managed super fund is the better choice to take in that instance. Now when you get to retirement stage and you're getting close to accessing your super, or you actually are, we would suggest that you consider having at least 5 years worth of your income needs stored in what we classify as defensive assets. So those are things like cash, term deposits or bonds. And the reason for that is that it's really important for you to know that you can draw your income needs in retirement without having to dip into any type of your growth investments, such as shares or property, at a time when they're not worth as much. So at a time when that market's down. The best tip we can give you about your superannuation is to try to see this as an investment vehicle for you, and one that's very tax favourable. So the highest tax rate that you'll pay in your super is 15%, and at retirement stage that can go to 0%. So see this as really a tax haven for you to be doing some good long-term investing in.